everyone, I'm Jean and welcome to Splitting Image, the channel focused on helping you become your better self. Today, we are joined by 6 amazing ladies who are going to help us travel through what it's like to grow up in America, in the United States, as a woman. So, we're going to be talking with everybody here about beauty standards and how they have impacted us in our lives and how we can overcome them as women working together. So, I'm going to go through one by one, let them introduce themselves, and make sure you give them a follow. Why don't you start us off, Morgan?
My name is Morgan Moses Allen. On Instagram, it's Morgan Fabulous. I guess we met through Anton, and I've done a little bit of theater, a little bit of dance. I love beauty products, beauty product junkie, and I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, currently living in the DC area. And yeah, I think, is that good?
That's great. What about you, Anelle?
Hi, everyone. My name is Anelle. I am from Montgomery County, Maryland. I also do love the beauty industry, makeup, and all that jazz. Skincare is like my guru. But if you want to follow me, it's Anelle Tarke, just my name, first and last name, on Instagram and on TikTok. I'm cooler on TikTok, as the Gen Z kids say. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Okay. What about you, Jemeya?
Hi, my name is Jemeya Bagby. I am from Baltimore, Maryland. I just graduated from Towson University with a double majors in music and philosophy. Yes,
Congratulations.
That's how I've never met Anton before, but mutual social media. My Instagram is Jemeya Q. I'm opera singer. I've been classically trained all of my life, sing jazz, compose, also a philosopher, so also do scholarly. I'm applying to master and PhD programs this fall. I've always been about beauty. One of my positive affirmations this week is to love myself and not for other people. So I've always been team natural, no perms, no nothing. Still working on how to self-care, but I think that's life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. How about you, Shanise? You want to continue?
Oh, yeah. My name is Shanise Young. I'm currently going to CCBC for psychology. I have a background in musical theater and film. You can follow me on Instagram. I don't really post much, but I can use followers. Inquisitive __ penguin. Don't ask.
I'm like, I want to ask.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Gayle?
She's not going to answer.
No, she is. She's like, she has a secret.
Mysterious.
Go ahead, Gayle.
Okay. My name is Gayle Nicholson. I host an online live streamed talk show that gives online entrepreneurs global exposure and post-production work to create marketing materials for the future. So that's what I do. You can follow me on Instagram at Gayle Nicholson, spelled just like my name under my picture here. And I actually am more active on Facebook. So if you want to follow me on Facebook, that is at G2 Nicholson.
Okay. All right, Eileen, close us out here.
Hi, my name's Eileen. I'm from California, specifically in the Sacramento area. I also have an Instagram, but I've been very inactive lately because I do cosplay, but lately I've been moving on more towards Twitch streaming. So I am more active on there. My Instagram is LoveLeanCos, like LUV, and then LEENCOS. And then on my Twitch stream, it's actually going to be Loveleanie, which is still like LUVLEENIE. And so, yeah, I'm just kind of getting into the streaming community and just building a community that way.
Great. Well, I'm very excited to be working with everyone here. Before we get really into the meat of things, because I'll explain how this is all going to run, I just want to say, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Creator Source Studios and at Splitting Image. We make content like this all the time, and so much more different diverse groups with us. We have a gaming channel, we have like a inspiration channel, which is what this is, and we have like a music guidance channel that teaches you how to play music and teaches you how to be in that industry. So we have a lot of different things going on with Creator Source Studios, and we're very excited to have a massive amount of people who join us for videos like this. So give us a follow, like this video if you want to, and leave a comment below to tell us what your favorite part is. Now, how this video is going to work. All right, I have 4 main points, 4 questions, and I'm going to time them. I got my timer, my phone pretty much. And we're just going to talk about the points. I'll pose them to you, ask you guys, and then go from there. It's kind of like an open discussion. You're allowed to just speak your mind, say what you want, be respectful of each other, but you know, I really want to hear what you guys think and how you feel about these things, and hopefully we'll be able to help some girls out there be more confident with themselves. That's the goal. So 4 points, each point's going to be 15 to 20 minutes, and we'll go from there. All right? Let me get this timer. I'll set it for 15 minutes. We'll see how that goes. Okay. First point. Growing up, what did you see as the ideal woman from the United States? What was the ideal woman for you? Go ahead, Gayle.
Okay, I don't know how, I don't want us to all like jump on each other at the same time talking.
Yeah.
But I recalled when I was looking at these these questions and going over them, I recalled a time that I was standing in my elementary school about 10 feet from the door of the first grade classroom, and my mom was there beside me waiting to pick me up. And I look over and there's this gorgeous 6 foot tall, white blonde woman with long hair and long legs, just completely put together. And I looked at my mom and went, I'll never be that. Right? And it was heartbreaking, right? I mean, yeah, I can grow my hair long, but I'm 4'8". I will never be 5'10", you know? So that kind of started for me trying to figure out how I could be as pretty or as beautiful as I could be, right? Inside of that. And I think that growing up, for myself anyway, I took in the messages that I got that were positive in that, for example, looks don't last forever. You better have something behind it, right? So I could actually like incorporate that into building my intelligence and building my skills. Whereas I've seen other people that are very, very pretty that once the looks start to go, they are very dissatisfied with their life because they've got nothing to back it up.
Right.
So what do you guys think?
So I'm just going to jump in there. I guess my background is my mom is Black and my dad is white. I grew up in the 80s. So I'm a little bit older than the young girls here. But I look young, right? But
Yes, you do.
I have a similar, like, I remember seeing, Naomi Campbell, Cindy Crawford, and like, to me, that was, again, when I was young, that was what was beautiful. Tall, skinny. Naomi Campbell was like one of the only Black models. And I just remember my sister and I being like, we'll never look like that because you've got brown skin and curly hair. And I mean, for me growing up, it was a struggle with my hair because my own mother didn't know what to do with it. Braids. I wanted to wear it straight. There was no curly hair products for natural curly hair back then. The height was also a thing. The skin color, I feel like, was a big thing. And it's easy for me to say I'm okay with who I am now because I went through it. Like, and it's like I can't pinpoint a specific example when I said I'm okay with who I am. Because, and there was no Instagram. Like, I was in my late 20s when Instagram came out. There was no YouTube. So, like, my friends and I didn't have all that pressure. which I think was a good thing.
Mhm.
But it's kind of like now you see it and you're just like, is this what girls think? Like, you see the Instagram body, you see the Instagram hair, face, but you also see a lot of people wearing their natural hair, the natural hair movement, natural skin, like, and it's like, I feel like people now are more okay with their differences. Than opposed to this standard, you must be tall, you must be thin, you must be blonde. I think it's still very prevalent, but I think now it's more, well, this is what's beautiful, but it's okay to be different. I feel like I just rambled a lot.
No, I think you made a lot of great points. I saw Anelle nodding along. Do you have a
Yeah.
point to say?
Yeah, I was gonna say that last point you made about how the beauty standard really hasn't changed, in the sense of tall, skinny, blonde is what everybody is still like acquiring to be, right? Everybody still looks to that to be the standard, but now people are a lot more accepting of themselves. So for me, like growing up, I grew up in Olney, Maryland for a lot of my life, which is a very, very white, like predominantly white neighborhood. I had predominantly white friends. I thought I was white. Like I wanted to be white. There was no like to me, like being Black was seen as ugly, because where I grew up, it was like not around me. Didn't see it on TV much, and if I did, it was very like ratchet or ghetto and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I don't want to be different from my friends. And so even with my name Anelle, I told people my name was Danielle, because I was like, Anelle's such an like exotic name, and I don't want to stand out from the crowd of people that I hang out with. So I'd always say like, no, my name's Danielle, because originally my name was supposed to be Danielle, but my mom took out like the D and the I and was like, Anelle sounds a lot prettier. But I hated my name growing up, because I was like, why is it so different? Like, why am I so different? And the fact that like being Black in a very white area made me stand out. I tried my hardest to fit in, even though obviously I was never going to fully fit in, but I like tried to turn a blind eye to the fact that I'm a Black girl, you know?
Right.
And so I really struggled a lot with my identity growing up, but seeing as how everybody, like in today's time, it's like everyone's okay with being different, and everyone's like, screw society. Like, I literally don't care what society has to say about my hair, my skin tone. Like, everyone's like, hashtag Black girl magic, hashtag brown skin girl, dark skins, you know, stuff like that is very trendy now. It's like almost cool to be Black now, which is kind of annoying on its own. But the fact that like I can feel like, oh, like I love my name now. I can feel comfortable in my own skin, being dark skinned. I'm like, and I don't care who has a problem with it, you know? I'm just like, I am who I am now. But growing up, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, I was like, oh, it was bad. But yeah, so that point was very, like, I really related to you on that point where like the standards have not necessarily changed, but everybody's becoming more accepting of themselves and not really caring about what the standard is.
Right.
Yeah,
I
I
just
wanted
wanna-
to jump in really quick to say
Go
that
ahead.
when you said that you thought, like Anelle, when you said that you grew up with like a predominantly white neighborhood and you thought you saw yourself as white, I was like, that's incredibly relatable, and I thought it was like just a me kind of thing, because like I also grew up, or still live in a very white area, and it was weird because it was like I almost could like select when I wanted to be not white and saw myself as like white growing up. Like, because I used to live in Austin, Texas when I was like really, really, really young. So like kindergarten to bit of elementary school. And I see pictures and I was like the only kid with like darker skin and black hair. Like everybody else was like light brown or blonde. And it was so funny because you could like see where I am. But it was weird because like my beauty standards relating to the point is like Barbie, because I did play with a lot of Barbies growing up. And there were like hardly any like tan really or like Asian looking Barbie. And then I fell in love with like Bratz a bit there because like that was the one doll line that had at least not just Barbie, blonde, white, blue eyes. And but the thing is, like, I would visit Hawaii pretty frequently because my grandma retired there, and like I would see Hawaiian, I guess, figures and stuff like that, and like see Hawaiian people, and then I'd be like, oh, like they're really pretty, and like these figures are very pretty. But then it's like I come back home and I'm like, oh, I just felt white because you interact with other white girls, other white people, and like I don't know, I just found that very relatable, as well as, you know, other beauty standards.
Yes.
Going back to that point about beauty standards being in place, I think it's also important to mention that the reason why you're having, like, people are more vocal is because there have been a lot of women, especially you know, Black women, women of color, that had to be very vocal saying, hey, this is my hair, this is my beauty, this is this. And I think that for me, I was homeschooled all of my life, so I have like a different story. But I think concerning when we're talking about these beauty standards, I think another important point to talk about is also character, or like this idea of like the perception of what the women's character is, because we've been told to really, like, you know, if you have like a mouth and you like to talk, then you know, you need to shut up, you know, you need to be like conform. And like I think that's where, like, you know, the conforming comes in. Like I've always been like the little Black girl that's always been like nosy, trying to look at people's this and that. And people think like, no. But like with that and talking, you know, because even my family and my, like, the Black women in my life has always told me, oh, you know, don't do this. Or even like with the stuff that I wear and even my hair, you know, you're supposed to look like this. You're supposed to look, I'm like, no, like I would fight for myself, because I'm like, I don't really care. Like sometimes when I say like I don't care, it's just like I wear what I want to wear. I'll wear my hair the way I want, and like I talk the way I talk. So yeah, I definitely think being vocal, because as women, especially women of color, we've been taught to like suppress our thoughts and suppress our ideas. So now you see a lot of more women that are being more vocal, but it's still hard because you still have this idea of like, you know, the Eurocentric, the idea of like, you know, white beauty, even not just like in our society, even like in our fine arts industry, the filming, the movies, music. So it's something that we're like currently fighting for, but I think that people being more vocal is also influencing more women to be more vocal and be more accepting of their own like beauty and who they are.
I guess it's my turn. So I really like everyone's points. Like each and every one of your points is like really relatable to me. I think for me growing up, it wasn't necessarily like I was insecure about myself. I think I felt more insecure like looking at other people once I got to like high school. Like I want to say I was a pretty confident kid for the most part. I didn't really care too much about what others thought. I always thought it was really weird from a young age, like, why are you telling me to be different? Aren't I supposed to just like love who I am, you know? But I would notice it was always a lot of projection coming from like the adults around me for what they think their standard of beauty is supposed to be. Like I was overweight a little bit when I was between middle school and towards the beginning of high school. So my weight was always a thing that was always kind of like, you're pressured to like lose weight, it has to be small. Like I remember seeing my friends actually when they were like 10, like their mom put them on like a diet. I thought that was insane. Like why is your mom not letting you like have cake at a birthday party? Like things like that just kind of always bothered me.
Right.
And I think as social media came into play, that's kind of where it started kind of to get in my head, like, oh, I should start to look more like that, you know, like let's say like Kylie Jenner and like Kendall Jenner, for example. I think they've kind of set the tone, like the Kardashian family in general. They've kind of just set the tone for, you know, they're like the new beauty standard. You know, in the 90s, it was all about being really skinny, and now you got to have like big boobs and a big butt, flat stomach.
But no thighs. No thighs.
Yep, a thigh gap.
You gotta have a
you have to have that
specific hourglass.
Yeah, and it's like, it's like so unrealistic, and I think it's really dangerous when, like for me, I felt like, oh, well, you know, I have to work out just my stomach, you know, just so, you know, I look thin, you know, have that nice hourglass figure. But it's like, everybody has different body types, you know, like, and it's based off your DNA. You can't change that. And I think it's gotten a little bit better because, you know, right now there's more like plus size models, you know, body positivity movement. And I think I've now gotten to a point where it's kind of like, I don't really care. It's like, I was pretty much like that towards the end of high school. I kind of just got to a point where it's like, you know, this is my body. This is what I'm going to have to live with the rest of my life. Let me learn to love that instead of trying to live up to someone else's expectations of what it's supposed to be, what they think it should be.
Right.
And I don't know, just that's all I guess I have to say for now.
Can I add something that I'm seeing among our conversation here?
Of course.
So I'm going to be 52 in September. All right. Morgan talked about she's a little bit older than these young ladies that are still finishing college. Okay. In my day, the beauty standard was Marilyn Monroe and then the Playboy bunnies. You were hard pressed to find a brunette Playboy bunny. Okay. Hugh Hefner, like loud lipstick and bleach blonde hair. And that was what was put out there as the standard of beauty. You know, now Morgan's getting to the age where she's starting to notice stuff, and we're starting to get social media, and people are starting to expand what the vision of beauty really is, right? And now this is awesome because you young ladies are growing up going, what do you mean I'm not supposed to love myself? What do you mean I'm not perfect the way that I am? Okay, I may have some character flaws, but I was created perfect, right? And fighting back for the individual standard of beauty. What is it really that makes you beautiful? Because I'll be honest, the most beautiful woman I have ever seen in a photograph was a very dark-skinned Black woman with natural hair. And she just had the lines and the shape of her face, and it just, she glowed. So what really is beauty? Right? So thanks. I'll step off the soapbox now.
And I will say like another thing though, just because.
Go ahead.
Like Crystal, like I was saying, like the social media, you know, like we have like Kardashians, like that seems to be like our standard for beauty now. And what I'm like noticing more just with, you know, these different movements for, you know, body positivity is that like there's also like what she was saying with the age thing, you know, it's also in different areas, like depending on like how old you are. Like she said, you're about to be 52. Like there's a lot of people now that are like looking at like J-Lo and like Angela Bassett, you know, like, oh, I should look like that when I'm older. So, you know, I have to take care of myself now. So I think it's gotten better because I think now we're becoming a lot more health conscious, but it's also kind of like, oh, well, if I don't look like that when I'm older, am I ugly? Like, am I just like, people don't also like, people feel like they have to look good all the time, you know, like I think there's also beauty in like, just like the natural processes of things. Like there's women who want to have like a full beat face when they're giving birth for some reason. Like, like you don't have to look great.
Oh my God.
It's about, you know, just finding beauty in moments that aren't so pretty.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. I'll say everybody had such great points for this topic, and I'll say it has been really amazing to see how social media has impacted things because it has its pros and cons. I say, like, I know we talked a bit about loving makeup. I love makeup. I love the beauty community. I love looking at all the beauty communities and trying out different products. But what I've noticed more is the shift from covering your flaws to skincare. I see that a lot online. People go from, oh, well, just put foundation on it, put some concealer on it, to now being like, what if you address the underlying problem and start to like take care of your skin more, and then you have makeup that's healthier for you rather than just the fullest, thickest foundation you can find. So that's been a unique shift that I saw, because when I was younger, it was sort of like, here's this heavy foundation. Now it's like, here's a skincare kit.
Actually taking care of your body.
Eat some fruit. Like, oh, okay.
Eat veggies.
Right. Well, I think, you know, talking about social media, that kind of brings us to our next point a bit, about representation. So the US has a unique history of representation in the media, but nowadays we're seeing more people of all different types of body shapes, races, skincare problems, like all these different types of people coming together online. Why do you guys think representation is so important for young girls and for young women and full-grown women in this country? What do you think is like I would say, why do you think it's so important, and what do you think is the most important thing about representing these people? All people, really. Anybody want to start? Oh, Eileen, go ahead.
I'll start off by saying kind of like to the point I addressed earlier and similar with like Anelle, like the fact that even just watching cartoons, like if we can watch that as people of color and like somehow mentally think that we are like this is the person we can like connect to is like someone who's white, and then like think for some reason when we're in a setting that we're like not who we actually are. I feel like oh, this is really hard to say, but it's just like it's important because like I feel like I should be able to fully understand who I am as like even just a character, like even a cartoon character, because I kind of grew up with cartoons, but like even just a cartoon character, seeing a main character as someone who's like Asian, which was a few of them, or even specifically Southeast Asian because I'm half Filipino, and there's not a lot of like specifically Southeast Asian representation in my opinion. And so it's just like it would be really awesome. Like when Moana came out, I mean, I'm not Hawaiian or anything, but it was just really cool because like she was Pacific Islander and she has like similar features to either me or like people I know, and it was like really cool because like now people can see this person and think that they're not only really cool but they're like pretty, a Disney princess, and like all this stuff, which is very impactful. And so I think to like I guess reconnect with yourself and not try and like really be in love with yourself too, instead of like trying to block it out when you like interact with people. I think that's really important for representation in media.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, I would say too, with representation, I think it's important to have it, but I also think it's important to have it done correctly, because with representation of people of color, it is so easy to fall into that stereotypical way of what you think a Black girl is, or an Indian girl, or an Asian girl, or a Hispanic girl is. It's extremely easy to just kind of follow that narrative. And so me looking at, like, if I'm young watching a TV show and there's that one Black character in it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, look, there's me, like, I could be on TV, you know? But then they're doing things that I've never done before, or doing things that I'm like, oh, Black people do this, or just like outrageous, outlandish, hypersexualized things, and I'm sitting here like, but that's not, or is that what America thinks I am? You know, is that all I can amount to be? You know, with representation, it's important that you represent all sides of what a person is, or what a Black girl is, because yes, Black girls and girls in general, because I hate that this just falls under Black women, but like can be loud and can be assertive and can be, you know, extra, you know, that there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, if you're only seeing that in the media, you think to yourself like, oh, that is what people see me as. So do I start to act like that? Is that who I need to be? Or do I see that as like a turnoff? So I'm like, okay, I need to be the exact opposite. So instead, you're not really being true to who you are, because you're looking at that representation of what people think you are, and then you're falling on either side of the spectrum. So I think it's really important to represent, like, just as something that people always point out is that when you see Black families on TV, it's never just like a normal, like regular, like living my best life, chilling kind of vibes. It's always like someone has to be struggling, someone has to be like working on 3 jobs, no freaking husband, all this like stuff that is like, yes, there are Black people who are going through that, but there are also Black people who are just fine. Like, I'm struggling, so I feel like it's important to show that struggle is not the only thing that Black people have, you know? So, but it's just, that like kind of falls to the wasteland. And so that irritates me, obviously, as I've gone on.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point, is that
I understand.
When you're trying to represent a group, a lot of times the people who are writing that character are not from that background. So I've noticed it a lot.
Yeah, that's so important.
Noticed it a lot with queer characters. That's their whole identity.
Yes.
Or being Black is their whole identity, or being Asian is their whole identity, being gay, whole identity. And I'm like, that's just not the way it is, though.
Right.
I feel like people will do that just for like bait, like clickbait pretty much. Like, look at the CW, for example. They'll have like a random gay character just to be like, oh, see, we support LGBT just because we're gay.
We represent.
Like,
and
a character is deeper than just like, a character should be deeper, like more than just like their complexion or their sexuality. It's like, they should be three-dimensional people, you know? We have emotions, you know, complicated relationships with people. We have aspirations, things we want to do in life. And going back to like your point about like, I don't want to make it just about Black women either. Like, if you look at the history though, it's like, we have such negative stereotypes pinned towards us, like the Jezebel, for example, the over-sexualized Black woman. You know, we were just seen as sex objects, and there's like the angry Black woman, you know, like you can't be smart and upset about something. It's irrational. You're just angry. There's also like the mammiest type, you know, the one that's, you know, you have to be maternal, taking care of everybody. And I feel like these different tropes are really damaging to people, especially like all these different stereotypes. It's like we have to fight against these different like ideas behind us before we even walk into a room. It can just that's like being held against us. Like if someone from, let's say like Oklahoma or something, let's say it's like a really white state, like they don't know, that's like their expectation of what a Black person is going to be because they don't know what to expect. You know, we've been seen of like as thugs, pimps for like the men. Like we don't have any like real positive images. I think we did go through like a certain period, like I'll say like the 90s or to early 2000s, there was a time people call like the Black Renaissance for like TV. You know, we had like Family Matters, Misha, 101, and all these different Black shows that were showing Black people in a positive light. And I think as towards like the 2010s, late 2000s, they started to cater more to like white audiences because, I don't know, maybe it's just too positive. Like, no, you're going to go back to the more negative stereotypes. And I think now more with our generation, with like, you see like Jordan Peele, Ava, gosh, I don't even know her last name, do honorary. She did like When They See Us, for example. Like they want to have like stories that are, you know, like real stories of real people. You know, it's not just like I'm Black and this is how I'm struggling. Like, you know, it should be just more about like who we are as people, you know, like we can be upset about something and it's not a stereotype, you know, we can be smart, you can be like, it's just, it's so much. Like, do you want to try to explain?
I want to pounce on something that Shanise just said. Give me 1 second. And I'm not like trying to come at you, but this is how insidious a lack of representation is. She mentioned Oklahoma, a very white area. Oklahoma is 60% Native American Indian reservations. Wow. But when's the last time you saw a Native American Indian represented?
Exactly.
You wouldn't know that. Right. Old Lady Geek over here knows that. Right. But that's how insidious it is. And even in the media, you know, if you can cast Tom Cruise as the last Shogun, what chance do Pacific Islanders or the varying versions of Asian people have to be accepted and understood for where they come from, right? And you can tell if you know enough about the different facial types among Asian people, you can look at a lot of the stuff that's out there and go, he shouldn't be playing that part, right? But nobody cares, and it's bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah, and like going off what you were saying with like, you know, that person shouldn't be playing that role. Like, look at Emma Stone, for example. I know she got like a lot of flack for doing, I think it was a movie, I don't remember what it was, but she was playing a woman who was supposed to be like Asian, like a Hawaiian woman. And Emma Stone's clearly a white woman, just like a redhead. And like when they do roles like that and people get upset about it, like why is there like no one of that race in the room, like when like people are making these movies? Like you'll look at movies like Ma, for example. I don't know if you heard of that one. Like Octavia Spencer was like the main character in a horror film, and like if you watch it, there's like certain scenes where it's like, who wrote this? Like I don't want to like spoil it, but there was a part where there was like the one, because there's always like a token Black kid in these movies. Yeah. And they were talking about like, oh, we have to do homework. And he was joking, but like, yeah, are people in the slave ships. And I'm like, why is that? Do we talk like that? Like, I think this is why representation is also just very important, so people are able to see themselves and be like, oh, hey, that's like me, or like, that's like my sister, that's like my mom, it's like my friend, you know?
Right.
And even if you aren't the same race, I think it's important for us to understand people of other backgrounds as well. Like you were saying, like Oklahoma is mostly Native Americans. I would know that because we don't really learn much about them. We don't see anything about them. And if we do see in like anything with like Native Americans, it's usually like some sort of flashback to like a reservation, like it's like something like 1700s, like Indian kind of thing, like
Peter Pan.
nothing about
and Miss Tiger Lily.
What?
I was gonna say, I think what everyone said like really resonates with me, but I think especially for growing up, you know, I love Disney, like still to this day, and all the princesses white, except for Jasmine, but she's a Middle East. And then when they had Tiana, it was like, oh wow, like this will help little girls' self-esteem and work when they're little. Because for me, I mean, Anelle, when you said like you thought you were white and wanted to be white, like I resonated with that. I didn't say it because I have these like, I guess it's like inner fears or trauma. Like, I'm just like, oh, I've got, and I really have like like repressed a lot of it, like, you know, being called an Oreo, being called, but I love who I am now, and I'm gonna be 38, so like it's taken a while for me to get there. But representation, like I feel like my friend's kid, who's a little beautiful mixed child, like I feel like she is gonna have a completely different experience than it's just so diverse for her. She has dolls that look like her mother, that look like her father, like, and I think it's just like I hope that her self-worth is just completely different than mine, and like experience was. But another point, just back to like, I remember a lot of movies, early 90s, 2000s, it was like the nerdy Asian, the ghetto black guy, the loud, ratchet black girl. It's like, why couldn't it be an Asian or a black girl or whatever that was like the main character that was like, because you're right, like someone like you have someone in Oklahoma, which we now know is mostly Native American. I remember, I will never forget, I went to Dickinson College for like a year. Before then I went to Towson, and there was a girl that I was on my hall from Maine, and I will never forget her telling me that I was the first black person she'd ever met, and we were friends, and I just remember going, well, if I can give her a positive, like, showing of people of color, then I've done my job. Because what did we see? What do we see on the news? Black men as thugs, black men as criminals. Black women, loud. The Mammy character, like, it's like, if I can show someone who's never met a single black person that, wow, they're just like, you know, me, then I've done my job, you know. And I just feel like that's so important, that it's represented in film and media and books and, you know, society, not just the news of this person, you know, robbing and killing and whatever, because that's how stereotypes, that's how prejudice, that's how more racism starts in the country.
Right. Go ahead.
Oh, I love all of this. And one thing that I've been seeing, just like being the one that's listening to all of this, like one thing that everybody's been talking about, like one important thing about representation that's really important is that it really helps self-esteem and personal development. When you see like those negative stereotypes and this and that, and like, and then that person sees it, and then in society people think, oh, light-skinned people are supposed to be like this, oh, dark-skinned people are supposed to be like this, or you're supposed to look like this. Even having beauty standards tied into your character, it can shut you down, and then the whole childhood traumas, the pain and all this. So like when you see a better representation, not just with beauty, but also like someone can look like this, someone can have 4C hair, but also be strong, be a doctor, do this, like, it also helps your self-esteem, and it also like, it can like help with like breaking the cycle of like the insecurities or like how we treat one another too.
One of the things that I'm kind of surprised no one has mentioned yet are some of the newer movies that have come out. For example, like Hidden Figures. We would not have gotten to the moon without smart Black women, right? And God bless them for having to go to a different freaking building to go.
Not me.
That's insane. It's insane that we ever lived that way.
Right.
And then what was the other one? Oh, I saw a movie not too long ago, Octavia Spencer, as Madam C.J. Walker. If you don't know, she was America's first millionaire woman and happened to be Black. So where's the reality of, you know, Black women don't have the ability to do whatever it is that they set their mind to? That's, you know, crap. I want to see a movie on George Washington Carver.
Me too.
There's so much that he did with the peanut that has created life as we live it now. Why do we not know more about it? Why is it that the only time that I heard about him in grade school was the half a year that I spent inside the Detroit public schools? Why aren't white people being told how brilliant Black people are in this country and how much they've contributed to our lifestyle?
Right. Yeah.
I was just thinking, because I'm not sure what year this was anymore, but I want to say it was only a few years ago, for Miss Universe, because this is also media, because it's on TV and all that. I believe like Miss Philippines won at some point, and she was Catriona Gray. And the thing is, like, she's very beautiful, kind of like physically, just objectively very pretty person. But I saw her and I was like, she doesn't look Filipino. But I'm like, you know, happy for her. I'm like, you know, she's half, whatever. Like, I'm half. If I ran for it, like, I should also be, like, just as considered as everyone else. But it's just like, she was specifically, like, half Australian, like, white Australian. And so the thing was, like, in the Philippines, I think there was, like, people didn't like her because she was only half Filipino. Why did she win? But then some people, like, just loved her because she, you know, looked beautiful and she, like, represented the Philippines. And it's like, first of all, she does not look like hardly anybody in the Philippines. As someone who's like visited there recently too, like, and it's just, again, it's like one of those weird things where it's just like, you know, it's cool that she won and like for the country and it's cool and all that. But I'm like, but she definitely doesn't look at all like any Filipino, not even me, like, and so it's just like weird. And then because she won, and because it's in the Philippines, a lot of young girls, like even my cousins, enroll in like modeling schools and like other beauty type schools to try and be like her or like try and like participate in pageants like her. And it's like it was just a huge wave, and it's still like an ongoing thing because beauty for some reason is so important. Like physical beauty is really, really important in the Philippines for some reason, and like specifically weight too. And so there's like these videos that I see on my mom, like she watches Facebook sometimes, of these like really young girls, like 7-10-year-olds, and they're in like stupid high heels and they like walk like a catwalk thing. And part of me is like, haha, cool, they're like in modeling school. But then I'm also like, they kind of shouldn't be in like 5-inch platform heels knowing how to catwalk. They should be like having fun in school. And it's just like, because that is the beauty that they aspire to be. Someone like Catriona Gray, who's like half white, and it's like, but you're like 100% Filipino. You're gonna have a flatter nose. You're gonna have a rounder face. You're gonna have a lot darker skin, like darker than my skin, really. But it's just something like that. Sometimes it's a gray area too, because you're like, she represents the Philippines, but she doesn't represent Filipino women.
Right.
I mean, that brings us right into our next point, sort of, and this is to the non-white women on our panel, because this is specifically a question about race. Do you feel that your race of women have been misrepresented in the media in Hollywood? And if so,
Oh, absolutely.
go ahead.
Right? The only answer is yes.
Just
Go
across the
ahead.
board, it's just for everyone. We've always been like misrepresented. I feel like it's like whiteness seems to be like the goal, regardless of what your race is. Like as close as you can be to that. Like for Black women, for example, it's like a trend I've kind of noticed lately is that they'll have a lot of mixed women playing like regular Black girls. Like you'll have two Black parents, but you'll have a light skinned daughter that's mixed. And it's not really representing that. Like, why can't she just be a mixed girl? You know, we can still show the story of a girl with like a white parent, Black parent, or maybe like an Asian parent and a Black parent. Like, where's that dynamic? And I think it's kind of also damaging, like for someone who isn't mixed, who's seeing someone mixed playing that's supposed to represent them. So I kind of kind of like going back to like what you were saying about like the I think you said Miss Universe. She was like half Filipina. I feel like that's also it's great, but it's also kind of like, oh well, when's it going to be like my turn for someone who's like fully, you know, Asian or Black or Latina? And I think they're trying to just, it's kind of like they're trying to like represent people who are some part something, like oh well, you should be happy because you know they represent a part of who you are, you know, even though it's not fully. Like I remember there was a movie called, I think The Sun Is Also a Star. The main guy that played it, he's half Korean, but the character he's supposed to play is fully Korean, and a lot of people are upset about that. So I think it's really important for people who are being represented in arts be 100% like authentic in who they are supposed to be representing. Yeah, if that makes sense. Like I think that's also kind of where there is kind of like a gray area when it comes to people who are and aren't mixed, because there's people in the middle who are mixed. So it's like, so where do I fit in then if I'm not, say, like, if I'm not Black enough, or if I'm not white enough? Like where am I gonna? Who can I relate to when I look at, you know, media?
Yeah, and adding on to that too, as a Black woman, like the representation of Black hair needs to be better too.
That too, like you see a lot of looser curl patterns. Like, well, look at my hair.
Has
like,
that.
Oh, I wish I had your hair. And I'm like,
exactly. Yeah, and like even
journey.
And even like my mother too, like she stopped having perms and like relaxers in her hair for like a long time ago. She would see like in a video or in a movie, like, oh, girl with like Black girl with 3C, and she's like, Jemeya, your curls. I'm like, no, I'm like 4C, like that's not. And you don't see a lot of people with 4C, and then like you know, people put like it doesn't work like that. Like I have to like. And not all moisturizers and like, you know, your hair. So like, but when you see that, I mean, and then like, especially you see the older women too, and the older Black women, they like. So there's that whole dual. I mean, I don't want to go off topic with
That's
that.
why I love Viola Davis, because Viola Davis does
so
not
beautiful.
Oh, that last season of How to Get Away with Murder, when she has this monologue where she's just going off about how like, because she had to go to court, she's going off about how when I show up in court, do I look like a powerful Black woman that I am, or do I play to the jury's feelings of let me shrink myself, let me put on weave, let me put my wig back on, let me wear bright makeup, let me look like a victim that the jury would want to see? Or do I go in court and be like, I am a powerful Black lawyer, and like my fate will be decided based on the fact that I am a powerful Black woman? And in the end, she did not put her wig on. She had her natural hair out. She didn't have any makeup on. She wore a power suit. I was like,
it was beautiful.
She's my mom. I am obsessed with her. Oh my gosh. I was like, thank you.
I still remember the part in season 1 where she like, there was like the whole scene where she's undoes everything, and I was just like, this is so
I was so shocked to see that on TV. I was so shocked to see that on TV because I'm like, that is not shown on TV. No Black woman is just gonna come and take off their wig on TV. Like what? That's why when I make TikToks and stuff, I'm always like taking off my wig because I'm like, this is normal. This needs to be normalized. Like the fact that Black girls who wear wigs and stuff feel like, oh, like I can't, my wig has to be like perfectly seamless, like I need to lace wear, you know, that like they think that like they can't just take off their wigs when they're at home and film it. Like I'm like, get out of here. I will take off my wig on camera and you're gonna sit here and look at it. I'm not gonna hide myself for you, you know? But like, that's why I just love Viola Davis, because I'm like, she does not care. Like, America, you will see my naps. You will see my curls. You will see me get undone, because what Black girl goes to sleep with a wig on her head if it's not like completely glued down? It's unrealistic. So when Viola Davis just comes out here undoing everything, puts her bonnet on and goes to bed, I'm like, period. That is exactly what I do every night, you know?
But that is also just like one person, unfortunately, like one woman.
Right.
Needs to be
So,
better.
which is why I love when I'm on TikTok and I see other girls, other Black women who are also like not caring, and they're like, this is realistic, like this is also my life. So yes, I take off my wig and I put on my bonnet, or I sleep on my like satin pillow, my silk pillow, before I go to bed, because that's what we all do. Like, why do we try to hide who we really are for like the entertainment world? Like, why do we try to shrink ourselves or be more whitewashed for people to accept who we are, you know? So that's why I just hope that more women are like Viola Davis, or more directors and producers are okay with women being like that on TV, because as an actor, like, you don't have much control over like anything, you know, you kind of do what the directors and the producers tell you to do. But because that was like more Viola's like show, like she was the lead, she could, you know, do that kind of stuff. But I'm hoping that as we move forward with representation, that more directors and producers also, we need more that are of like people of color, so that they know that this is normal. Like, this is what should be shown on TV, because this is what people do when they go to bed. Like, it's just an everyday routine thing, you know? So I'm sorry for that, but
oh no, you're fine. I was gonna like continue off of what you were saying, just with the whole we need more people like Viola Davis. And I think that also you're like, well, why isn't this seen on TV? And I think that's just because a lot of the writers and directors aren't Black. Like Shonda Rhimes, Black woman, that's her show.
Exactly.
Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, that's all her.
And then usually they would try to just play the diversity card. So like, oh, we did representation. We had that one Black person.
Right.
Like, look at Franklin at the Peanuts Thanksgiving table, but he was given the broke up chair.
But that's why.
And Charles Schultz had to fight to have him in there. Yeah.
But
and
I don't
they
know
also,
if you guys know
oh wait,
go ahead.
Sorry. But like, I'm just gonna like continuing off what you were saying about like Viola Davis. Like recently there was like an interview she did a couple years back about like, she's been considered like the Black Meryl Streep, but they're like, why don't you pay me what I'm worth then? You know, like you want to talk about like all these powerful Black women being in TV and industry, but like look at Gabrielle Union, for example, you know, like when she was fired from America's Got Talent, that was because, you know, it was just mostly white people, and they don't, it's not the same reality for them.
Exactly.
Like, we have to act a certain way just so we can get the role. And with it being such a competitive environment, it's like, well, what if, you know, what's stopping them from just replacing me with the next girl who's eager to get what I wanted, even though I want, I know I deserve more.
Exactly. A point I was gonna bring up before we went off on this was that no matter the race of like women of color, whatever is represented in a good way is always going to be lighter skin. So it's always light skin Asians, light skin Black women, light skinned Hispanic women. That like people don't talk about Afro Latina women whatsoever.
Yes,
like
they're
you
like
see them in
so
the media,
rare.
you know. So it's so I love the fact that the show Never Have I Ever. I don't know if you guys know the show. It's on Netflix. I think I've heard of it. Mindy.
I think I've heard of it.
Kaling, Mindy Kaling.
The Indian woman.
Mindy
is that her last
Kaling.
name? Yes. So she's the like producer of the show. And it's basically, it follows the life of a young Indian girl on TV. And it's just like a normal Indian girl with her Indian family. Like, they touch on Indian culture. They touch on her just being Indian American. Like, that is like the first time I've seen an American show very centered around Indian culture. Because when we look at like Asian culture, Indians are very much erased from that entirely. Like, people don't know that Indians are Asian, you know? That show representing Indian culture was just like, it actually blew my mind, and it just got renewed for season 2, and I'm like, amen, because this needs to be seen. I don't know much about Indian culture, and seeing like following an Indian American family, like I loved watching that. And Fresh Off the Boat was an Asian American family. Thought that show was freaking hilarious, and I'm like, there needs to be more shows like this where it's just the average American who has a different like ethnicity than just white American show, like portrayed in the media. So I wanted to bring up the point that like these Indians, they are darker Asians. So it's like, wow, a show centered around darker Asians, you know? And like Filipino people too are normally like darker Asians, but you don't ever see them represented in the media whatsoever. It's always like Korean or Chinese or just Japanese, like very light-skinned Asian people. So to have that show come out and it's like representing like more dark Asians, I'm like, thank you. This needs to be out there, because you know dark-skinned people exist, right? You know, we're real, you know.
You guys, does anyone watch Blackish?
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
So I love that show, and at first I was like, I'm not gonna watch this. Like, is this gonna be any good? And my sister was like, it's hilarious. You know, they're a successful Black family. She's a doctor. She's biracial. He's a successful Black man in advertising. And they have a huge family. And back to your point about dark-skinned people, there was an episode where one of the daughters, Diane, getting her school picture taken, and you can barely see her.
Yes, I watched that episode.
And like, I actually was just cleaning my apartment. I was like looking through all these old photos, and like, I see that you can't really see like some of the darker skinned people in my class or whatever. And it goes back to not only representation, but people of color as directors, as lighting people, as behind the scenes, because you can make anyone of any color look the way that they look when I see them face to face. Like right now, I feel like my skin looks pretty good because I have a light right in front of me. Pointed at me. But like, if I didn't have this on, you know, you can blend into the shadows. So it's like, it's not that we need lighter skinned people or let's have this. It's not that they're prettier. It's because I feel like people are lazy and they're like, oh, well, maybe they won't look good on camera. No, it's about you learning how to do your job better, and light these people in a better way so that we can all be represented, shown how it should be actually.
Like, speaking of dark skin on media, have you all seen like recently with like the tweets about Simone Biles on Vogue?
I was about to bring that up.
So bad. Like, she just looks so gray for some reason. And like the background is horrible, and like it very much looks like they called Simone. They're like, hey, you got a Vogue opportunity, and she's like, cool. And then she arrives on set and it's just like, girl, what is this? What is this?
And someone like redid the photos. It was like, it took me 5 minutes to edit these.
It looks so bad. And I'm like, she deserves so much better. And then there's better, unfortunately there's better photographers, but it's like whoever they hired apparently has a track record of like taking really bad photos of like dark skinned people. And it's just like, why did they hire her to do it again? But I did want to talk real quick about like, I'll also speak for Asians in general, for misrepresentation in media. We are either nerdy, for some reason, the one highlighted streak, or rebellious in some way, or with an accent, which isn't necessarily a problem, but it's like too often. An issue. And then like that's just in one aspect, but for a somewhat more recent movie, like Crazy Rich Asians, that was a huge hit. I did like the movie a lot, but of course, with every good thing, there's things to critique about. And the thing is, as someone has mentioned before, they were all very light-skinned Asian. The other guy who was supposed to play someone who's Singaporean, he's also like part English, so even that he's like part white. And what else? Like they played a lot. It's cool that they have like, you know, all Asian cast of various, like they're Chinese, maybe they're part Thai, maybe they're part Japanese or Korean, like who knows? And it was also just very specifically the rich part of Singapore. And I'm like, I guess it's for some a positive light, like, oh, okay, like Asian people can be rich and have luxury and have leisure too. Like they deserve that. This is what we can do. And then we have the movie like Parasite, which is a Korean movie, which I've yet to see, but I've been really wanting to. Oscar award winning.
So good.
And it shows, I believe it shows like class disparity, right?
Yeah.
Which like really, really poor people in Korea and then really rich people in Korea. And of course it's fiction, but I do believe there's definitely like some layer of reality. But it's like you don't get films like that, or you don't get that as often. Like part of the reason why it had such a huge success was because Parasite was like an anomaly because it was from Korea, which is not typical for Hollywood. And it's like, but at the same time, that's still a light-skinned Asian movie. That's still Korea, which, you know, Asian, just really quick, there's like a lot of anti-blackness in the Asian community and like anti-dark, which I think would be really cool if like there could be one day a family specifically of like someone who's black and someone who's Asian, because a lot of Black Asian people exist, mixed or otherwise. And at least in my culture, probably for other cultures too, for some reason, they are like, I remember growing up and they're like, please don't marry a black man. Please don't do this and that. And I'm just like, what? Why? But then they're like, well, like, you know, like dark skin, it's not good. And I'm like, well, I mean, if perhaps I do fall in love with someone who's black, like, what's it to you? But it's such a problem in the community. So I think showing that positively and, you know, correctly would do at least something good and make other people who are like Black and Asian feel good about themselves. Because I'm sure it's like, you know, probably in their extended family, they probably don't get treated very nice. I'm just assuming. I'm like, I don't know for sure, but it's just because that stigma is there, at least for my culture, it's probably just going to be a thing, which is unfortunate. So.
I feel like I've noticed that a lot with like people with mixed backgrounds generally. Like in the Latino community and Asian community, like they're like, oh, if you're gonna marry someone white, you know, because it's like considered like bettering the race.
Exactly.
You know, right. Child to come out lighter, like so don't dare like don't marry dark skin, marry light skinned.
I think that color is still there. That color.
Yeah, colorism's definitely there within all communities.
Yeah, even African communities, like they don't want their sons marrying a woman who's darker than them. Like if you're black, if you're an African man, like you need to marry a light-skinned black woman or like a light-skinned African woman because you don't want your kids coming out darker than you already are. Like that is very real. A lot of African parents are.
I see that so much in like even with We're Represented. Oh, I'm sorry, what?
I was like, why are parents so concerned with what color their grandchildren are? Like, this is ridiculous.
It just doesn't make sense. But I've seen a lot in like TV and stuff with like Black families, for example. It's always a light-skinned mother, a dark-skinned father, and light-skinned children. It's always that. Like, you never see a dark-skinned woman with another dark-skinned man or a lighter-skinned man or, you know, brown children. You rarely ever really see brown children. Like Ryan Destiny is probably one of the only actors I've seen on TV that's just a dark-skinned girl. And we need representation. Like it's really important because like you were saying with like people who are Asian and also Black, like have someone who's Asian and Black playing those roles. Like how are you going to have someone who's mixed or not mixed represents like someone a part of a different group? You know, it's also important, like Asians, like have someone who's a part of like that Asian country playing that role, because you're also misrepresenting people who don't know anything about that. So you go to a country and you'll be like, oh, well, they look different from what I've seen in like movies and stuff. So it's like you're gonna go out into the world not really knowing like
just really
people are like.
I think the sad thing is that beauty standards, like my friend who's Indian, from in Baltimore County, but her parents are fresh off the boat from India, hadn't married. She's their only child. When she got married, huge Indian wedding, they talked about like bleaching her skin. Like they all like that's still a thing in a lot of Asian countries, a lot of I'm sure it's still prevalent in some African communities.
Yep.
That's still a standard of beauty about
Mm-hmm.
bleaching your skin and making it lighter. So like until that changes, then how are you know, and I'm not saying it's fine, but like I have friends whose parents were like, well, Morgan, we love you, but we wouldn't, you know, don't.
Yes.
We didn't want her bringing home a black man. One of my best friends who's Korean, like, oh, don't stay out in the sun, you're getting too dark. Like that's the thing. And it's like until that changes, and I think it's changing with us, like with younger
generations.
Communities. So like hopefully our children and their children, but it's like that's not going to change until we change it.
Right. I know I met Eileen in Japan, and anytime we would enter any beauty store, and I don't know if you were with me one time, I was just picking products off the shelf and going, this is bleach in it. Like, this is a bleaching product. This is a bleaching product. This moisturizer is a bleaching product. And was
I didn't know that.
Yeah, for a lot of
there
them
were only be like 3 shades.
I was like, these are bleaching products. I'm like, they're like, yeah, you're supposed to. It's good for you. And I'm like, it's
and like the makeup is literally 3 shades. And I tried finding like a powder foundation, and I bought one to try it. And I put it on, and I'm like, I'm a ghost. I am a ghost.
The
I like,
Bookie
never wear
Theater.
it again. They don't. I think in Asia they really only have like 3 shades of foundation, pretty much.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
like really hard to find anything like my skin tone, which I'm not super dark even, but like I'm darker than what they offer.
Right.
Calling out the beauty community here, we need more shades of foundation because it is just absolutely atrocious how
and not even
I
just like
don't
more
know,
shades, but like
bleaching
shades with
products.
different undertones. Because
different
like
because you're just like one
what was it?
undertone, all these different shades.
Yeah, Makeup Forever, like they had 40 shades before, but I'm like, you still look ashy. Like you still look red. You still don't have like when Fenty Beauty came out, it was a big thing because you had people with cool tones, neutral tones, warm tones, and the same shade.
Yes.
I did want to add one thing that we actually haven't talked about yet concerning representation. Like I know we were talking about this, but I think it's also important to talk about like sexuality too. In terms because like, what does it mean to be a lesbian or like a queer person, like and how that person is perceived, not just in media, but in general. Like if you have like your hair short, like there's a perception, are you gay?
Gay, right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely add on to that. I, as a queer person, never saw myself reflected growing up in any sort of media or any TV shows, any anime, anything like that. I was like, except for Sailor Moon. But all my friends were like, oh, no, they're cousins. I'm like, no.
That's what the dog wants you to think.
I'm like, no, don't let America fool you. They are
right.
But also for trans men and women and for non-binary individuals, they don't get enough representation. I'm really this is a call out to Hollywood. We need female directors. We need more people of color directors. We need more queer directors because they're not cutting it right now.
They're not.
Yeah. Has anybody watched Charmed? Like the new one that just came
out? Oh yes, I was gonna pull up. I was gonna bring up Charmed.
Yeah, like they just queer baited people with like what was her name, Meg?
Yeah, Mel is lesbian.
Watch the first episode. Okay. I hated the way they represented her. Like they just represent her as this man-hating lesbian.
Yes, very feminist, like
boyish and like. Ooh, and like she punched some guy in the face at some point. It was just really
with Charmed. They that new Charmed.
I don't like it. I'm an OG Charmed fan, by the way.
Oh yeah, I'm obsessed with OG Charmed. I think I still stuck through with the new Charmed just to like see it play out.
I watched
the first season is horrible. The first season is not good. They do a lot better in the second season, but that first season is like they were trying which is another thing with representation. That's why I said it has to be done correctly because they were trying way too hard to push these narratives of like lesbians. This is what like, hey, we have a lesbian and they're gonna be hardcore lesbian. And like even with their white lighter, the first episode I thought he was gay because the way that they were representing him, it was like they wanted him to be gay but not like saying that he was gay. And then in the second season he ends up being straight and I'm like, like what's going on? But I even found out that to be like Latina women. And so I looked up their like backgrounds and stuff like that. Mel is the only one who's actually Hispanic or Latina. She's the only one. The other two are like, one is like Afro-Caribbean, that's what she said, and the other, Maggie, is black and white. So like they were like, yeah, we don't want to misrepresent the Latina community, seeing as how only one of us is actually Latina, but like, you know, we're still here to like play the role to the best of our ability. And I'm like, to the best of your ability, but like you don't know nothing about, you know, like
that's another thing with like, if you're gonna make the show about like they missed a huge opportunity to like teach people about, you know, Latina spirituality and like there's a whole history there, and you guys like they just say stuff in Spanish, like
even
make it kind of make
sense.
even
Latina culture, they don't even touch on it, like they don't even it's just,
it's a real shame. Hollywood needs to do better, and unfortunately we have to move on to our next point because we're running out of time. But I'm like, I could talk about this all day.
Honestly.
I can go on.
But our final point, I want to end it on a positive note. I want to inspire people because as we see, we could be doing a lot better. I mean, that's just the gist of it. We need to inspire young girls to be able to go into these careers so that they can illuminate and highlight figures who are less exposed in the media. And I want to see some more representation in movies and TV shows. I feel like I'm tired of the, oh, this white guy goes to Asia and saves everybody trope. Done with that. So our final point, what would you tell a young woman growing up in the United States of your race and background about self-acceptance and self-love? What advice would you give her? We'll go through everybody for this one. So Morgan, would you like to start?
I mean, I kind of talked a little bit about my friend whose daughter is, she's gonna be 5 and she's biracial. And it's like, I already see so many differences from when I was that age to the way she is, and the way he is accepted now, I guess, more in the community. But I would just say that, you know, it's okay to be different. It's okay to have one black parent. It's okay to have one white parent. It's okay to be different. It's okay to have, you know, different curly hair that you may not know what to do with at one point. Like, it's a process. But that beauty is how you feel. It's what you want. So if you want to wear your hair this way, or you want to wear a wig, or you want to do whatever, like, that's okay. But it really comes from loving yourself and accepting yourself. It take time, but really now it's more like, it's okay to be different. It's okay to not look like anyone else. Just be true to yourself and follow what you want. Yes, that's what I would say.
That's a great point. How about you, Anelle?
Yeah, I would definitely stay on along the lines of that, because like with me growing up, I felt the need to look like everybody else, knowing that I'm never ever going to look like a white girl, you know? So I think it's so hard to just tell like young girls, like, just love yourself, you know, just accept yourself, just know that you're beautiful, because it's like sure, like, thank you, like, but when I'm looking around and I'm seeing all these other standards of what beauty is, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, just love myself, like, just like, you're beautiful. You know, I'm going to want to try my hardest to be accepted by that kind of view, especially when you're young, like high school, middle school, elementary school. Like, you care about what people think of you. It's so hard to not care about what people think of you. And like, to the people in general who like do not care, I'm like, ooh, I wish I was you. I wish I grew up feeling like I don't need to care, like, block it out, you know? But I tried so hard to get people to like me, to get to look like other people who were liked, to be pretty in that kind of way. So like, the only advice that I can really say, well, before I get to that part, just saying that, like, now that I am, like, I just graduated from Towson University, like, throughout college, when I was, like, finding who I really was, I was like, yo, who gives a crap? Like, what? Who even cared about high school, middle school? Like, what? Why did I care? Why did I care so much, you know? But, like, that took me growing up to get to that point of where, like, I literally do not care what you think of me. But, you know, in high school, in middle school, that was, like, everything. So, like, me talking to somebody in that age group, I think it's really important to have, like, positive affirmations. I feel like I wish I would have done this when I was in middle school and high school. Like, actually write it down, and looking at it every day is so much better than me just trying to tell myself, like, you're pretty, like, don't even worry about it. Like, because I don't believe what's in my mind, you know, like, your mind can really play tricks with you. But if I'm sitting there writing it out, like, it doesn't matter what people think of you. Like, you are beautiful. Like, I have to genuinely believe it in myself that I am beautiful to feel beautiful, you know? So if I'm seeing those reminders, like, visually, like, physically saying, like, hey, you are beautiful. Like, you are more than enough. You are, like, you know, just all these positive things that I can actually look at every day, I feel like would make so much of a change for me. Because that's, like, what I had to do when I've lost, like, 40 pounds since, like, college and stuff. But I was in a really negative headspace before I started trying to lose weight. And I was like, I can never do it. I'd never be able to do it. Like, whatever. I literally had to start writing down, like, you got this. Like, you will lose the weight. You, like, God loves you. Like, it doesn't, you know, I had to write those things down and look at them every day. And that really started to actually change my mindset. Like, I shifted from this negative mentality to a more positive one, which made me feel better about myself, which actually in turn made me want to lose weight and feel like I could do it. So bringing that back to, like, beauty, I think it's like along the same lines. It's going to be extremely hard to look at other people that you think are beautiful and you don't look like them and try to find beauty in yourself. But if you, like, try your best to give yourself these, like, reminders out loud instead of in your head, I feel like will take you so much further than letting the negative thoughts in your head roam in there rent free. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There goes my
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
I feel like I wish I would have known that when I was young, to, like, write sticky notes or to leave myself notes and to have these affirmations, like Jemeya said earlier, and like you're saying now, Anelle, is to just have affirmations. Remind yourself every day, every time you look in the mirror, say something positive about yourself, because if not, you're just gonna every second notice all the flaws. And that's something that I want young girls and young people, everyone, to remember and note. How about you, Jemeya?
Oh, I was actually going to do that.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I have 2 points, and I'm going to sound like the Oprah Winfrey Network because yeah, repeat after me. I love myself and not for other people. And that's one thing that, like, I wrote down actually for myself a couple of days ago, because all of my life too, yes, I've been the vocal person, but, like, when someone would say something to me or this and that, like, I also care for other people, and I've also been caring about how other people think. But then I realized once I listen to my inner self, what I want, what I need, like, in loving myself, I'm realizing that I'm becoming a higher self, a better Jemeya Bagby, finding inner happiness, inner peace, self-esteem, confidence. And this brings me to my next point. The most beautiful woman in the world is you, yourself. And I really think too that, like, when you love yourself too, like, you can also love other people the way that you want to love yourself too, or just, like, love people the way you want to love them. But yeah, and also shout out to Oprah if you ever watch this.
A big shout out to Oprah. All right, Shanise, you go ahead.
Okay, man, I was trying to be next. I would say that, you know, beauty, I know it's so cliche, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And you can't really, you have to love yourself before you love anyone else. I think that beauty, when you think about, like, self-love and beauty, you really have to be okay with what you're born with and what you have.
Yeah.
And no matter what that is, you know, like me, I'm going to love myself, whether I'm 20 pounds lighter, 20 pounds heavier. I love who I am. And, but also, just because you want to lose weight or gain weight, that doesn't mean you love yourself either. Because I feel like people will say,
Yeah.
oh, well, you're beautiful. Why are you trying to change this about yourself? Like, because I want to, and it makes me happy.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel good about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So don't get caught into thinking that just because you want to change something that you don't love yourself.
Right.
Like, do what makes you happy, what makes you feel confident, but don't do it for anyone else. Do it for yourself.
Absolutely.
No, I think that's a great point. Like earlier you said, everybody has different body types, but you need to do what makes you happy. So, like, focus on what makes you feel good on the inside. If you're happy as you are, be happy as you are. If there's something you want to change about yourself, don't have shame in it. Don't look to others to guide you to that. Do it on your own and see how you feel about it. So, I mean, that's a great, everybody's bringing up such great points. I can't wait to hear the rest. Go ahead, Gayle.
Oh, well,
Threw it on
this
you.
may sound cynical, but here's my advice. The media is designed to sell you something. In order to do that, they must make you feel like there's something missing in you or something that you need to be okay. It's a game you don't have to play. You don't have to play it. Your best friend is in the mirror. Take some time to get acquainted, not just stand back, see the image and judge it, but like dive into your eyes. What makes you smile? Dismiss the thoughts of judgment and just get connected with who you are so that you can know what's beauty to you, right? And it's not just about how you look, but beauty is as beauty does. Beauty is being kind. Beauty is having compassion. Beauty is being interested in other people. You know, if you get somebody talking about themselves, they will think you're the most beautiful person they've ever met, right? Because of that connection. That beauty is in the space between us, right? And there is, like, I think it's Jemeya that said it, the most beautiful person in the world is you. Act accordingly.
That's a fantastic point. I think, be kind and be passionate, because I know the thing that I find most attractive about people is when they start going on a tangent about something that they love and are passionate about. And I look at them and I think this person is so beautiful. And it's not about their face or their hair or their body. It's about who they are.
Yeah.
Eileen?
So to all the young Filipina women out there, whatever nose you have is beautiful. You do not have to get surgery for it, but if you want to get it, done, no shame. Don't feel shame about it. Like, if you want that pointy nose, go for it. Like, don't let people think, oh, you should love your flat nose as it is. Like, if you want it, you want it. But just remember that what you are born with, what you have, is beautiful. Being Filipino is beautiful. You don't need to buy bleaching products. If you live in the Philippines, you don't need to look at the bleaching aisle. You are beautiful no matter what weight you are, no matter how many times you go and see your aunts and cousins, and the first thing they say is, oh, you lost some weight. Like, don't take it to heart. They're just saying it because that's what they do. Don't let your parents tell you that you need to lose weight. Or even if you do, just don't take it to heart, because if you feel good and you feel happy, if you look in the mirror and already you're like, I look cute, then who cares if your parents think you need to lose 5 pounds? Who cares if your family needs or says that you lose weight every single time you go there, even though nothing's changed? Just also don't try to be like others, no matter what. Just because someone else at school is popular doesn't mean they have something you don't. You will have those around you who love you for who you are, who think you're beautiful for who you are. You will find someone who, or you don't even need to have someone. You'll have friends, and found family even, who will see you, and if you're feeling down, they'll lift you up because, like, you're beautiful inside and out. Doesn't matter what is on the media, because what matters more is how you feel. If you want to do makeup, you better believe you do it for yourself. don't do it just because you think someone down the street's gonna like comment and say you're pretty, or someone at the store is gonna say you're pretty. Because kind of like what people have already said, you look in the mirror and you are what you've got. You are all you have. You can get surgeries, you can get procedures, you can exercise, do whatever you want, as long as you know deep down you're doing it because you know you will feel happy, or like that you are happy, and doing this will just give you something else. Like, as long as you do it for you and not because your mom said you should get your nose like pointier because you'd be prettier that way, or like you should slim down so that way boys can notice you. Like, as long as you do everything about your body and your image and yourself for yourself, then I think you will continue to be the most beautiful person, and you don't need to go through an outgrowing process. Perhaps, but you're always growing. You're always growing, and you're always improving to be beautiful.
Exactly.
Sorry, that went kind of long. I was
No,
just like, I have
no.
something.
I love that. I love all that.
It's so nice to hear everybody's point of view, and I'm just thinking, like, to the young people out there, always remember that whoever you are listening to, whatever their ideal of beauty is going to be different than everybody else's idea. I mean, I had a grandmother who would always tell me, you're too skinny, eat more. You need to get plump, or else how are you going to be a woman? Like, you need to get plump. Like, you need to eat more. And that was the Italian side of her. And then I had my other family members being like, no, don't listen to her. You need to be nice and lean and skinny, and you have to be all bones. And other people being like, oh, well, you know, if you want to be this way, like, you have to wear your hair this way, or you have to wear this much makeup. Everybody's going to tell you one thing or another, and everybody's going to have a different thing to say and a different opinion. So you just have to kind of block all that out and start building your own opinion. Start finding things that you like and that you enjoy, and experiment a little bit and see what you really enjoy doing. And that's why having an experimental phase where you cut your hair short, grow it out, dye it to one color, dye it another, do your makeup super dark, wear bold lipstick, having that phase is important because that's going to help you discover what makes you feel beautiful. That's the most important thing. What makes you feel beautiful, not what makes you look in the mirror, what makes others look at you and go, oh, dang, you're hot. Like, what makes you feel comfortable and happy and lovely. And everybody here in this call are all lovely women on the inside and out. Everybody here is so insightful and smart and beautiful and passionate, and it's such an honor to be able to host this event with you all. And remember, viewers, you too are beautiful, and you too are smart. And say your affirmations every day and know that you are a great person. So I think that's all for now. If anybody have any closing points you want to say real quick?
Oh, and I want to add something.
Go ahead.
For, like, you know, beauty standards and stuff. I think, like, just for anyone watching, I feel like that don't allow your admiration for someone else's beauty diminish yours, because people will, like, look at, like, I'm looking at a panel of completely different women. You all look beautiful, and you're all beautiful in your own way. And I think just because, you know, I think you're beautiful, I shouldn't be like, oh, well, you know, I wish my hair fell the way hers does, wish I had her lips. Like, no, you can appreciate someone else's beauty and still love who you are. And don't let anyone tell you, whether it's your parents, your friends, anyone, like, at the end of the day, you're going to be stuck with you no matter what happens. You're always going to be stuck with you. So you better learn to love yourself.
Right.
I used to be like, I wish I had a different nose, because, like, I got what people have called a bird beak on the nose, and I used to hate it. I would look in the mirror and be like, oh God, I would look at other women and be like, I want their nose, like everybody else has a better nose than I do, and then I'm like, this is the one I was born with, this is the one that I have. And I have to love me, and I have to love myself. So, great point.
Love yourself. You are beautiful. I haven't met you, but you are beautiful.
Exactly. Good. Like, everybody was so insightful. You all are fantastic.
I wrote down what Jemeya said. I love myself.
Thank you.
For other
That
people.
just came. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's going in the list.
That just like, I had
Affirmations.
that in my heart. I was like,
Homework assignment. Everybody write it down.
yeah, I'm expired. Yeah.
Young Oprah. Oprah 2.0.
Yes.
Retweet this Oprah.
There you go.
Oprah, are you watching?
Yeah, I just wanted to
Get us all some cars.
Oh,
I need a car.
Sorry, Eileen.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like I remember something I saw like when I was in high school that someone who was like popular on this social media site I was on, people would ask like, "Oh, like how are you so confident? How are you so pretty? Like did you know blah blah blah?" And she answered just really succinctly like, you tell yourself you're pretty and until you like you believe it, once you believe it, it will show. Like if you believe you're ugly, if you believe you're not good enough, it will show. Like it like for example, a job interview. If you believe you're not good enough for the job that they got the interview, you got the interview for, you're probably not going to be as likely as hired. So that's why you got to just believe it or like fake it till you make it. Honestly, just even if you don't fully believe it yet, just tell yourself you're beautiful like every day, like once a day. Tell yourself you're pretty once a day, until it's not a conscious thing anymore. You like wake up and you're just like, I feel good. I'm pretty. I feel good. I don't need anyone telling me otherwise or something like that. And it will come out, makeup on or nothing. You will like reflect who you believe you are.
And that self-love conquers all too. It conquers all, and it conquers all of our insecurities. So definitely, I know we've been saying the buzzword is affirmations, but they do work. Positive
They do.
They do. And for self-love, it works.
Yes.
Well, thank you all so much for coming today. Being able to talk to you all really is just, it's just such a breath of fresh air, I should say. But thank you guys so much for coming. I'm going to close out the video. I really appreciate you all being here today. You guys are just amazing women. And go follow them. Viewers, go follow all these people. Listen to their content, hear them, and see them for who they are, because you got to reach out and hear us beautiful women as we discuss the world. Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. Again, I'm Jean, and this is Splitting Image. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and here on YouTube. And comment below what you think about beauty standards in the United States and how you see yourself and what advice you would give to a younger you. Again, thank you all for coming, and this is so exciting.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Love yourself.
Bye.